Tonight, breaking news on a major incident on board a flight from Sydney to Auckland. 50 passengers injured. Hussein found in an Auburn stairwell. The heartwarming end to a frantic three-day search. The push to make Sydney toll roads fairer for motorists. A new photo of the Princess of Wales sparks controversy, confusion and an international kill notice. Oppenheimer sweeps the Oscars on Hollywood's biggest night. That had it all. And we're live to the NRL judiciary, where rooster Spencer Leniu will be punished for racial abuse.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. We begin our broadcast tonight with breaking news, and around 50 passengers have been injured on a flight from Sydney to Auckland after the aeroplane experienced a technical problem. Let's go straight to TVNZ reporter Jacob Johnson in Auckland. Jacob, good evening to you. What more can you tell us?
Kia ora, Peter. Well, there's been a large emergency response here at Auckland Airport this afternoon following that technical problem during a LATAM Airlines flight this afternoon from Sydney to Auckland, which caused strong movement while the plane was in the air and, of course, injuring many passengers. As you mentioned, 50 people were assessed by ambulance crews, around 50 that is. 13 of them have been taken to hospital. Most have moderate to minor injuries, but one person is in a serious condition. Now, the injured include both passengers and cabin crew, and we know that the plane involved was a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner. Of course, Boeing has been under increased scrutiny in recent months right across the globe for issues with its planes. Now, LATAM has issued a statement this evening saying it regrets the inconvenience and injury that this situation may have caused.
Jacob Johnson from TVNZ live from Auckland. Thank you. And there was trouble too on board a United Airlines flight from Sydney to San Francisco today. The Boeing 777-300 forced to turn around 2 hours into its journey due to a hydraulic leak in the wheel. Flight UA 830 diverted to Sydney, landing just after 2:30 this afternoon. A replacement service has been arranged for tonight. There's been a happy ending after a frantic three-day search for a missing 12-year-old boy in Sydney's west. Hussein Al-Mansouri, who is non-verbal, found just a stone's throw away from where he was first reported missing.
Lost, but finally found.
Welcome back, Hasumi!
With his big brother behind him, little Hussein Al-Mansouri, dehydrated and hungry, but alive.
So he's doing good, thank you. Yeah.
The end of a 50-hour search that felt a whole lot longer. Discovered in the stairwell of an Auburn medical centre, only a stone's throw from where he was last spotted.
From what I've been told, he sat up and he was smiling, so he was happy, so it's great.
A stroke of good fortune, a staff member following a gut instinct to check the stairs.
So all that messaging got out to the right people, and someone, as a result of hearing that, has gone and searched the stairwell.
It wasn't long before paramedics were checking him over.
If you guys just want to stand either side of him as well.
Missing since Saturday morning, 12-year-old Hussein ran from his family at Memorial Park. Spotted 9 hours later at a local train station, and from there, a small army was deployed. A police chopper from above, and on the ground, SES, police, family, friends, and total strangers hitting the streets.
Can you say a lot of tears? Yeah, we have not slept. I can say to the family of the beautiful young boy, we felt like he was our son.
Hussein has Down syndrome, is non-verbal and autistic, with a tendency to run when people approach. So, search teams played his favourite song, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, hoping it would coax him out. Police were confident that he didn't leave Auburn. They had a feeling he was close, but no one realised just how close. Only 100 metres from the police station where the search was being organised is the medical centre where that little boy was found. It's still not clear how Hussein got into the stairwell or how long he was there for. The best possible outcome tonight, outweighing all those questions. In Auburn, Alex Heinke, 9 News.
Let's go live to Alex at the Children's Hospital at Westmead. Alex, what's the latest on Hussein's condition?
Well, Pete, we've just heard from extended family members who tell us Hussein is feeling a little weak, understandably so, but he has incredibly good spirits at the moment and overall an incredibly positive vibe. They are the words we're hearing. We've also heard from his mother, who wants to relay a message. She wants to thank the community, especially around Auburn, Pete, who not only rallied together, but they helped bring her son home.
A good news story, Alex. Thank you. Drivers could soon be slugged to travel on the Harbour Bridge in both directions if the state government accepts recommendations of an independent toll review. An interim report has called for sweeping changes to make roads fairer for motorists who are on pace to spend nearly $200 billion in tolls by 2060.
Ivan Westbrook runs a Jim's Antenna franchise, a business that takes him from his home in Forestville to customers as far as Campbelltown and the Central Coast, spending a small fortune on tolls along the way.
It's one of those things that you really can't avoid living in Sydney. That could be $40 or $50 just to get to the door and again return. And if you don't take that toll, then there's an hour each way of extra traffic that you may have to sit in.
It's the same old gripe motorists have had for years, but a scathing review has revealed serious flaws in what it describes as a poorly functioning system, in which prices are higher than necessary and inconsistent.
Tolls need a big shake-up. Major reforms. No holds barred.
Professor Alan Fells wants toll pricing to be unified, as well as making it cheaper the further you go and getting more trucks to use toll roads. He also wants the government to take back control by establishing a government-run toll operator. The idea is it would act as a competitor to Transurban, which owns 11 of the state's 13 toll roads.
Not to break it up, but to inject more competition.
However, the ink dried on many of Transurban's deals decades ago.
We haven't ruled out anything. We're open, we're at the table.
Over the lifetime of these contracts, $195 billion will be collected from New South Wales motorists and shoveled into the pockets of major toll road operators.
While some will be better off, others could end up paying more, with the review recommending tolling both north and southbound travel on the Harbour Bridge, Tunnel and Eastern Distributor, with the revenue divvied up to reduce tolls on other roads.
We are going to get new tolls, higher tolls and more bureaucrats.
Fortunately, you can access toll relief right now. Eligible drivers have until July to claim 40% back on tolls from the 2023 financial year. And next month, a new $60 a week toll cap kicks in, enabling drivers to claim up to $340 quarterly. In the city, Kate Creedon, 9 News.
Its release should have calmed speculation about the royals' health and whereabouts. But a new photo of Princess Kate has instead fuelled conspiracy theories after experts called it out for being doctored.
The smile of a proud mum surrounded by her children. At first glance, a classic family photograph shared on the Prince and Princess of Wales Instagram account to mark Mother's Day in the UK. It's the first official image of Kate since her abdominal surgery nearly 2 months ago.
This is absolutely brilliant to see Kate looking so well and fit and healthy. And of course we haven't seen her for quite a while.
But within minutes of its release, it sparked questions. Firstly, the public pointed out the princess doesn't appear to be wearing her wedding rings. Then, the world's top photo agencies suddenly withdrew it from their platforms, issuing a kill order, claiming it had been manipulated.
Alterations to photography is a big no-no in the industry, and if an agency figures out that an image has been doctored or moved or altered, they will tell everyone not to run it.
Christian Stokes is the deputy photo editor at Nine newspaper, the Sydney Morning Herald. He's identified several components of the image that are likely to have been doctored, either manually on Photoshop or through the use of AI.
Around Charlotte's left arm, it disappears and then reappears here. If we go over to Louis, the giveaway is the pattern in his jumper. It's all straight vertical lines, single, and then there's a double vertical line on that sleeve. Kate's arm around Louis, the hand is very, very blurred, the fingers, which makes me feel like there's been manipulation there.
Prince William is credited with taking the photo that was shared with the caption, "Thank you for your kind wishes and continued support over the last 2 months." Its publication was likely intended to extinguish intense speculation and conspiracy theories about the princess. Instead, it's added fuel to them. But there could be an innocent explanation.
They just wanted all the kids looking at the camera at the same time with a big smile. It's quite possible that Charlotte, in the frame that they liked, wasn't quite looking at camera, and so they may have used a different picture or a different frame in the same set.
No comment from Kensington Palace, and the photo remains on its social media pages. Kate isn't scheduled to return to public duties until Easter. In recent weeks, Prince William has been attending royal engagements solo as his wife recovers. He'll be out again tomorrow at the Commonwealth Day service, which will be led by Queen Camilla. King Charles, who's undergoing cancer treatments, will deliver a pre-recorded message. An important day on the royals' calendar, impacted by illness. And now, even more questions. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
A truck went up in flames on the Anzac Bridge at Pyrmont this morning, causing disruption for those heading into the city. The vehicle, carrying stone and plastic, drove out of the M4 tunnel around 10:30 when a passing motorist alerted the driver that his load was on fire. He tried to extinguish the flames before firefighters arrived and brought it under control. Tax cuts are on the way for Australian families, but tonight the Treasurer is vowing to cut tariffs on hundreds of imported goods as well. The pledge comes as new figures show just how prominent the cost of living crisis is in our community.
Balloon season in the capital, with PM and Pooch joining thousands lakeside at dawn.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
And free at a time when so much is on the rise. Tonight, a new freshwater strategy poll for the Australian Financial Review shows 72% of respondents want more focus from the government on cost of living. Of those respondents, 27% said the price of groceries should be the priority ahead of housing and rent, power bills and interest rates.
Coles and Woolies have way too much power in this country, and they need to be reined in.
Alongside the only other Treasurer to return a surplus this century,
as long as you're not from the opposition,
Jim Chalmers pointing to cost of living relief in the budget.
Every budget is trying to strike a series of fine balances.
That includes removing 5% tariffs on 500 items, from pens and chopsticks to washing machines, toasters, tampons and toothbrushes.
Relief for business and consumers by reducing unnecessary costs.
It will reduce costs to some extent, and of course we hope that there's some benefit both for business and for consumers.
It's a very out-of-touch Treasurer that thinks that's even going to go close to touching the sides of the cost of living crisis.
If this is their way of slashing red tape for businesses out there, it's not even going to be close enough.
Tomorrow, the Senate resumes its inquiry into supermarkets, with national farmers and consumer groups to testify Wednesday. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
A desperate search operation is nearing its 22nd hour for a missing swimmer who became caught in a rip at Bronte last night. After a challenging summer along our coastline, locals are now lobbying the council to extend lifeguard patrol hours during daylight saving.
In choppy waters off Bronte Beach, lifesavers on boats and jet skis, scouring the deep for a missing swimmer. The Westpac rescue helicopter in action too. The young man, aged in his 20s, went for a swim with his friend just before 8 last night. They both got caught in a rip near the ocean pool. His friend made it to shore, but he was swept away. His mate called for help. A brave young nipper answered.
I ran in to tell my dad. He was cleaning up.
Well, we all ran down, got the boards out of the surf club and ran down to try to get him.
I started to grab a foamy board too to have extra eyes.
The late night search called off, resuming at first light. But this isn't the first after-hours rescue performed by Bronte locals.
I nearly lost my life myself saving someone.
Over summer, the beach is patrolled every day between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m, but locals are pushing the council to extend those hours until at least 8 p.m. during daylight saving.
When it's daylight saving time, I think definitely, because people would be more likely to be out here swimming at that time.
The council is urging people to swim during patrolled hours and follow the advice of lifeguards.
You only swim on a beach that's patrolled and in daylight hours when the flags are up.
In Bronte, Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
William Cam, the convicted paedophile and cult leader known as Little Pebble, is facing serious charges, arrested over allegations he and his partner groomed a 6-year-old girl. It's also alleged he sent her letters and gifts from prison while serving a separate sentence for sexually assaulting 2 teenage girls in the early 1990s.
Police will allege that over that period
The child was groomed. She was advised by the religious leader and his partner that she had been selected to procreate with that religious leader and to build a new sect.
He is also expected to be charged with failing to comply with an extended supervision order. It was tipped to win big, and it did. Oppenheimer sweeping the Oscars, scoring 7 gongs. As always, Hollywood's Night of Nights delivered on the glitz and the glamour. The 96th Academy Awards, a golden tribute to the best of the entertainment industry.
It was the night an explosive film became Movie of the Year.
Yeah, I see Oppenheimer.
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 7 wins, including Best Picture.
But I have been dreaming about this moment for so long.
For Cillian Murphy, the man who portrayed the creator of the atomic bomb, the Oscar for lead actor.
For better or for worse, we're all living in Oppenheimer's world, so I would really like to dedicate this to the peacemakers everywhere.
Best Director, Christopher Nolan.
Movies are just a little bit over 100 years old. We don't know where this incredible journey is going from here, but to know that you think that I'm a meaningful part of it means the world to me.
On a night where many of the tears are happy ones.
Oh boy, this is really overwhelming.
Poor Things, Emma Stone, lead actress.
The women on the stage, you are all incredible, and the women in this category, I share this with you. I'm in awe of you.
And dreams came true.
For so long, I've always wanted to be different. And now I realize I just need to be myself.
The show's host sought to do the same, taking on the job inspired by Barbie.
You both already won something much more important, the genetic lottery.
Jimmy Kimmel's quippy monologue reached for the stars.
Bradley, you brought your mom to the show tonight. Hi, Mrs. Cooper. How are you?
And for the movies themselves.
Your movies were too long this year.
Robert Downey Jr. seemed unhappy with jibes about his past drug use, but the Oppenheimer star had the last laugh. His first ever Oscar.
I needed this job more than it needed me.
And while the film industry saying says not to work with animals, this good boy earned a front row seat to the biggest show in Hollywood on a night celebrating not just the films, but their music too. Ryan Gosling had Margot Robbie all smiles before a powerhouse performance. In a Barbie battle, the best song was Billy's, her second Oscar.
I'm so grateful for this song and for this movie.
Celebration turned to sombre reflection for the industry giants lost. On Oscars night, it's all about balance. The highs with the lows, the jokes with the messages, and then there's the element that's almost as big as the show itself, the red carpet. Where this year, black with a twist appeared to be the theme. Margot, sleek and stylish. Robert Downey Jr. had an extra spring in his step. There was a touch of Snow White, even a Hemsworth. But the red carpet walk doesn't always go to plan. Inside, there can be tense times too.
Costumes. They are so important.
There weren't any Australian winners tonight, but the military alliance with the United States was celebrated. AUKUS with a primetime message.
Through AUKUS, a partnership built upon cutting-edge American, Australian and British technologies.
Ultimately, tonight was all about the movies, the winners and every star. In Hollywood, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
What a great finishing shot. Time to check in on the weather. Good evening, Belinda.
Evening, Pete. A late burst of summer heat for Sydney, our 7th day of above average temperatures, the city reaching 29.4 just before 2 p.m, with the northeasterlies picking up this afternoon. Our west climbing into the 30s again, Penrith the hottest, hitting 31.3, about 4 degrees warmer than the March average. And tomorrow is going to be even hotter across New South Wales, tops up to 10 degrees warmer than usual for this time of year. But a cool change is coming. I'll have more details on that after sport, Pete.
Belinda, thank you. Former NRL star George Burgess responds to groping claims. He went to a home to drop off a jersey, but a woman alleges he crossed a line. Details from inside court next. Plus, a taxi driver goes off-road at Bayview, crashing through properties, police claiming he was drunk. The moment a shopkeeper fights back after his store is ram-raided by children. The Pope's war advice to Ukraine that sparked fury.
And lasers punching across the horizon for tens of kilometres from the biggest lighting rig so far is the promise for this year's Vivid Festival.
A taxi driver has lost his licence, accused of speeding down a street in Bayview on the Northern Beaches before crashing into a front yard of a home just before 6 last night. Officers arrived at the scene on Bayview Place, arresting the 26-year-old after he failed to return a negative breath test. He's been charged with high-range drink driving and negligent driving. Former NRL star George Burgess has given evidence in court about the day he allegedly groped a woman while dropping off a signed St George jersey to her apartment. He denies touching the woman on the bottom, however, told the court he had intended to be intimate.
Invited in for a cup of tea when visiting a woman's home to drop off a signed jersey for a charity event, but George Burgess told the court today he had other intentions. Your intention was not only dropping the jersey off, but to see if you could be intimate. Possibly. Possibly, yes. The 31-year-old denies groping the woman on the bottom, telling the court he came up behind her in the kitchen and put his right hand on her lower back to see whether she was using Yorkshire tea. The woman asked him if he was married. He said yes, but you know how it is. The pair moved to the couch where the court heard Burgess asked for a cuddle. In cross-examination, Burgess was asked, "You said, come on, just 5 minutes, stay and be naughty with me." "I did." She kept saying, "I have to go to work," didn't she? "Yep." She had been rejecting your advances from the moment you walked in the door, hadn't she? "Yes." Do you regret any of your actions? The court heard after leaving, Burgess sent a purple devil emoji. When asked why, he said, "It's an acknowledgement. I'd been a bit flirty, a bit cheeky." The court heard the next day, Burgess received a Snapchat message from the woman levelling accusations of groping and sexual assault, writing this could not only ruin your family, but also your career. Burgess told the court he was gutted and shocked. He also said he apologised to defuse the situation. The matter returns to court in May. In Sydney, Zara James, 9 News.
An American military ship is tonight bound for the Middle East, less than 36 hours after US President Joe Biden announced plans to help with the delivery of humanitarian aid. The vessel is carrying equipment which will be used to build a temporary pier off the coast of Gaza. Hundreds have protested outside the opening of a Holocaust museum in Amsterdam. It was all triggered by the presence of Israeli President Isaac Herzog at the opening ceremony. The demonstrators, made up of both Israeli and Palestinian supporters, demanding a ceasefire in Gaza. Kyiv will never surrender. They're the words from Ukraine in response to the Pope's calls for negotiations to end the war with Russia. The pontiff said Ukraine must show courage of the white flag in a television interview, drawing outrage from politicians and commentators across Europe. The ultimate game on in the federal court over a name. Our Fanatics take on America's Fanatics. The Aussie cheer squad underdogs in a David and Goliath trademark tussle. Sydney's new housing plans to build up instead of out. What it means for your suburb and the local council pushing back. The Royals can't take a trick today. Next, details of a major security scare at Buckingham Palace. And we'll tell you when Shire locals will head to the polls after Scott Morrison quit. A date has been set for the Cook by-election, which was triggered by Scott Morrison's resignation from politics. The vote will take place in just over a month on April 13. Liberal candidate Simon Kennedy will contest, while Labor is not expected to put a candidate forward. It's been described as a David and Goliath type battle, the owner of an Aussie sports company versus a US merchandising giant. Now the fight over the brand Fanatics has reached the federal court. And chances are you've seen the green and gold contingent at many of the world's biggest events.
Name an international sporting event and you can bet Warren Livingston was there leading the Fanatics, chief of the Aussie fan group who for 27 years has been organising tours to cheer on our stars, complete with the green and gold get-up.
We've trademarked Fanatics, our brands, a long time ago, and we're fighting for it in the federal court.
His US rival is worth almost $50 billion. The American Fanatics, owned by the country's 61st richest person, Michael Rubin. Its investors include rap star Jay-Z.
I think about how do we get more share of the closet.
The merchandising giant now targeting the Australian market, signing apparel deals with the AFL and Rebel Sport in an alleged trademark breach.
We just want to protect our patch, we're Australian, we've been here a long time.
Warren has described it as a David and Goliath type battle, a humble Aussie sports group versus a US megacorp. He wants the foreign Fanatics to stop using the name Down Under, arguing he had it first. But when do billionaires back down? Lawyers for the American company filing their own claim, accusing the Aussie Fanatics of being a tour business only that should be stopped from selling sports and branded merchandise online.
But we've always been a merchandise company. We always sold T-shirts out the back of our, back of our car and put the $20 notes in our pocket.
At the federal court, Tiffany Genders, 9 News.
The gates of Buckingham Palace have been boarded up after a man crashed his car into them. The smash sparked a late-night emergency at the royal residence. Police quickly swooping in to arrest the driver. Police say it is not terror-related. A Darwin business owner has tried to protect his shop, sleeping inside the store, when a stolen vehicle rammed the front. He then takes matters into his own hands, jumping on the bonnet and smashing the window to catch the culprits. 2 teenage boys aged 12 and 14 flee the scene but were later tracked down and arrested. It's the third time in the past month his shop has been targeted. One of Sydney's biggest local councils is launching a major pushback on the Premier's sweeping planning reforms, pointing to full schools and narrow streets as the reason some communities can't cope with more dense living. The Hills Shire is already one of the fastest growing areas in the city, but says its master planned suburbia should be left alone.
Beaumont Hills, backyard swimming pools and tree-lined streets. This is quintessential suburban Sydney, but these single home blocks are in the gun to be rezoned for units of up to 6 stories.
This could all be gone and replaced with apartments?
Absolutely, and so you're talking about the very family-friendly character of the hills under attack by these proposed changes.
The suburb is 2.5 kilometres from the nearest northwest metro stops, and Freedom of Information documents show the Hills Shire is already home to 4 of the biggest schools in the state, all with more than 1,000 students already enrolled.
Our schools are already overcrowded, the streets are very narrow, the state infrastructure in terms of the regional roads isn't there to cater for that proposed density.
And locals like George fear what it will mean for the community.
We've come out here obviously for lifestyle. I don't want to be living next to a 6-storey high-rise.
The council fears this single-level suburban shopping strip could be the catalyst that sees Beaumont Hills rezoned because of the way the planning department is interpreting a village centre. A full-service supermarket now a Trojan horse for development, and coupled with the rail line, the Hills Shire Council believes all these circles of land could be in for upzoning.
Work with local councils, work with local communities that know these areas best, and we can locate the densities in the areas that can handle it and not in streets like this.
We are willing to listen to councils if they're saying, well, this doesn't meet the right definition of a town centre, but over here does.
But as the state government tries to tackle Sydney's density dilemma, agents say demand from developers is already sky high.
Frankly speaking, they're salivating at the opportunity. Already I've got buyers calling me saying once that builder has bought that new property within 800 metres, they'd like to buy one.
The Premier's sweeping planning reforms are multi-pronged. At the top, these 8 train and metro stations have been chosen to be ringed by high-rise apartments spanning a 1.2-kilometre radius. Think Green Square-style living. The second tier singles out 31 other rail stops where unit blocks of up to 8 storeys would be allowed within a 400-metre walking distance of the station. But what's raised the most concern is the push to increase density without specific transport links. Land within 800 metres around hundreds of town centres, like potentially the Beaumont Village, could see development of 4 to 6 storey units, and effectively all single dwelling blocks across Sydney will be able to be subdivided into duplexes, townhouses and 2-storey manor homes. And that is where Chris Minns finds himself on a collision course with councils.
Liz, thank you. Some of our state's biggest mental health organisations warn they're at breaking point, making an urgent plea for more money. The campaign, run by the Black Dog Institute and the Royal College of Psychiatrists, says mental health represents 15% of healthcare cases, but services only receive 5% of funding.
We're not talking about 1% or 2% a year. We're talking about major investment in this sector to bring New South Wales to some level of parity with Queensland and Victoria.
The group wants the government to consider a mental health levy to ensure dedicated revenue for mental health services. A shocking graffiti attack, the National Memorial dedicated to our Vietnam War veterans, vandalised. More on that story after sport. Plus a major change to the HSC scrapped after years of debate. Vivid's back, your first look at what's planned, and it includes a 40-kilometre laser projection. James Rooster Spencer Lenu will learn his fate tonight.
Yes, Pete, good evening. The hearing to determine his punishment for racial abuse is underway, and reporter Emma Lawrence has been listening in. We'll learn what's been said as one league legend has today called for Lenu to cop a 12-week ban. Ahead of the Battle of the West, we hear how Parramatta inspired the Panthers to win their historic 3rd straight premiership. Plus, a selfless Alex Carey guides Australia to a nail-biting test win over New Zealand.
And Sydney turning up the heat, a late hot spell sending the mercury soaring up to 8 degrees above average.
Coming clean on Sydney's dirty secret.
It's shocking, yeah, that's disgusting.
The hidden health hazard in our famous beaches.
Different kinds of bacteria floating around that could be damaging to someone's health.
Finally, a fix.
We are going to create a 1.2 kilometre pipeline from Parsley Bay to the Bondi network.
9 News, your news, tomorrow at 6.
All eyes are on NRL headquarters right now as Spencer Lenu finds out how long he'll be sidelined for calling Bronco Ezra Mam a monkey during that clash in Las Vegas. Emma Lawrence joins us now. And Emma, we know Lenu pleaded guilty, so what's the discussion been?
Well, James, the NRL Council just started to present their case. They read out a long statement from Ezra Mam. Some of it was kept confidential, but Ezra essentially says that he told a teammate to run the ball straight back at Spencer, and that's when Spencer used the word in retaliation. Mam claims that he was seeing red and he wasn't able to focus on the game. As for the Roosters, they will get a chance to make their case shortly, and they're going to argue that Spencer didn't use the word monkey in a racist sense, and he didn't truly understand the meaning of the word. Now, I spoke to Jonathan Thurston a little bit earlier today, and he is adamant the NRL needs to come down very hard.
Professional sports people are held to a higher standard, so yeah, I'd be comfortable with the 12-week mark, and then that education part behind it as well, whether, you know, maybe he gets invited and then spends the week in the Indigenous All-Stars camp.
As for the Broncos, there was full support for Ezra at training today. They were wearing jerseys with the Deadly Choices logo and branding, and that is a community group that supports Indigenous health. But James, as for inside, it could be a long night ahead, a very intriguing one for sure.
Certainly is, Emma. We'll see you on 100% footy later tonight with the verdicts. Well, the Panthers concede they're a little bit off to start the season after their opening round loss to the Storm. Penrith faces the Eels this Friday night. A team coach, Ivan Cleary, credits to helping them win last year's premiership.
A round one loss following their World Club Challenge disappointment.
I wouldn't say I saw it coming. I mean, your training is compromised to some extent, but we were well aware of that.
Despite the pointless trip to Melbourne, Cleary was pleased with his new centre combination, and it's set to be long-term, with Isaac Tungor reportedly set to extend his contract for a further 3 years.
Still only 21. It's hard to believe. You know, he already won 2 premierships, and stoked that he's part of our team and hopefully will be for some time.
Round 2 is a blockbuster Western Sydney derby as the champions return to Bluebet Stadium. The Eels were the only team to beat Penrith twice last season.
But we've always been little brother, so I'm not sure if that's changed.
Cleary says that second defeat helped spur his Panthers through the finals.
At that point, we were just we were winning, but wasn't, great. Our sort of position had been kind of set, and they just came here and just gave it to us, really. So, they obviously deserved that win, and I don't know if it was a wake-up call, but we were a fair way off the pace, and fortunate enough for us, we kind of fixed it up after that.
Parramatta has confirmed Mitchell Moses will take his place in Penrith on Friday night. The halfback picked up a minor groin injury in the win over the Bulldogs. Tom Marriott, 9 News.
Nick Haynes has been at the Giants since their inception. The defender turned winger says the club is in its best ever shape to win a maiden AFL flag after dismantling premiers Collingwood.
This year is as good as any. I think that we can push that premiership, and I don't want to miss a part of that. So real happy I'm staying here, and hopefully I've got a year or 2 left in me.
The Giants host North Melbourne on Saturday afternoon. Well, it seemed unlikely at the start of the day, but Australia has pulled off a remarkable test victory against New Zealand to sweep the series 2-0. And for captain Pat Cummins, it also showed why this is the batting lineup to take them forward, despite increasing scrutiny.
Backs against the wall, but not beaten.
Pumped away, Pat Cummins hits the winning runs. That is some performance.
Another great escape for this Australian side.
I think in a couple of previous summers we'd kind of blown teams out of the water. This summer wasn't the case, but still at the key moment someone stood up and we found a way to win.
Today there were 2 of them.
On the pull in front of square for 4.
At 5 for 80 and fighting to stay in the match, Mitchell Marsh and Alex Carey combined for a 170-run stand.
Oh, a lovely piece of timing in front of point for 4.
Marsh was removed on 80.
Well, he's out! Lydia Rasmus says yes!
But with Carey at the crease, Australia was in control. Under mounting pressure to perform, the keeper took 10 catches and produced one of his finest knocks.
It's probably the way I play a little bit. I at times try to create a little bit too much, but I thought today I kept to a really solid plan. Read the conditions, read the bowlers, and I guess the partnership as well. So, yeah, happy with how today went.
He was on 98 when Cummins hit the winning runs, stranded short of a century.
I was happy with that.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I didn't want to get on strike again.
I had no idea he was on 98, so that would have been embarrassing if he was celebrating and I wasn't looking.
It's Australia's last Test match until India arrives in December. Even after an inconsistent summer, the skipper says this is their best batting lineup for the challenge.
We all know how good they are. No doubt a few of them will look back and kind of wish they scored a few more runs, but basically everyone in the lineups won a match this summer.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
And Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham have stormed back into the race for Champions League qualification, thrashing top 4 rivals Aston Villa 4-0 away from home. All the goals arrived in the second half, seeing Spurs cut the gap to Villa down to just 2 points with a game in hand. Manchester City and Liverpool had the chance to move clear on top. Instead, they played out a 1-1 draw, meaning Arsenal remains in front. Pete, round 1, it was extended, but it's finally come to a close, and we get to wrap it all up with your favourite show later tonight.
100% footy. Gus, Gale, Danny Weidler, and you're the ringmaster.
I'll be there and holding it all together. But I tell you what, a couple of them made it back from Vegas, and they're good to go tonight. Lots to sink our teeth into.
Well done. Thank you, James. Next on 9 News, an ugly attack on the National Memorial for our Vietnam veterans. Plus, plans to make HSC maths compulsory, now scrapped. And it's time to plan your trip to Vivid. In a moment, see what's planned and where. A Vietnam War memorial in Canberra has been defaced by vandals. The monument covered with messages about the conflict in the Middle East. Sprayed on with red graffiti are the words "Eyes on Gaza" and "This is genocide."
To desecrate this memorial slaps in the face of all those that served.
ACT Police urging anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. To finance, and the share market had its worst day in a year as global investors flooded to the exits. Here's our finance editor, Chris Kohler.
A hefty drop on Wall Street fed straight through into our market today. At the close, the damage was 142 points or 1.8%, enough to make it the worst day we've seen in 12 months. The record highs we saw last week might have spooked investors who were keen to take a little profit off the table today, but it ended up looking nasty. A broad sell-off that lasted all day and cost our market well over $42 billion. But the Australian dollar continues to sit near its highest level for the year, easing in the afternoon, but still buying 66 US cents, 60 euro cents and 51 British pence.
Thank you, Chris. Let's look at the price of unleaded petrol across Sydney tonight. The average is sitting at $2.04 a litre, but you can find it cheaper at River Road in Revesby and Mowbray Road, Lane Cove. A major subtraction from the HSC equation tonight. The state government dumping plans to make maths compulsory for years 11 and 12. Principals have been advised the subject will instead remain optional for senior students. English remains the only mandatory HSC course. It is now the largest festival in the Southern Hemisphere, the largest light show in the world. In its 14th year, the 2024 menu of sights and sounds has been released for Vivid Sydney.
It's the 3 weeks near winter, where the luxe of city lights goes deluxe. Vivid Sydney launching today. This year brings the promise of lasers punching across the skies for 40 k's and beyond. Dancing chairs that call you to sit, swaying skirts of optic fibre and the mind of Reg Mombassa unleashed across Circular Quay. The Opera House sales will feel more quilt-like, thanks to the muse that is textiles for last year's Archibald Prize winner.
There'll be moments where it looks like the entire Opera House has been wrapped in fabric.
So the look of the Opera House this year is going to be very, very different.
Vivid's traditional epicentre remains the key, surrounded by the canvases supplied by the Opera House sales and foreshore buildings. The lights reaching past Walsh Bay and into Barangaroo, then down to Darling Harbour and along the goods line to Central. Other touch points being the State Library, Carriage Works and the Botanic Gardens. Its footprint drawing 3.5 million people to visit last year, a 35% increase on 2022. Vivid now a primary driver of tourism to the state's capital.
It's over $200 million of visitor spend right across the city, and not only in Sydney but out into the regions as well. We got something like $27 million spent through the regions off the back of that.
Vivid 2024 starts May 24 and it's largely free. How can you get this wrong?
True, but we try and do it differently every year and try and keep people, engaged and interested and coming back for more.
In Sydney, Mike Dalton, 9 News.
It comes around quickly, and coming up, Belinda with our weather.
Thank you, Pete. Mostly clear conditions for Sydney tonight. Right now it is about 25 degrees in the city and 27 in our west. The mercury soaring into the mid-30s tomorrow. So how long will this unseasonal hot spell last? The forecast is next. Welcome back. What a great start to the week. Mostly sunny skies for Sydney with light to moderate northeasterlies. The winds picking up this afternoon as some cloud cover moved in over the city. Thankfully, mostly upper level cloud though, so it didn't spoil that beautiful sunshine. Top temperatures today up to 4 degrees hotter than the March average. Our west climbing into the 30s again. Penrith the warmest, hitting 31. The city stopping at 29 after a low of 20. A dry and mostly sunny day for most of New South Wales. A few isolated showers along the north coast thanks to those onshore winds with less than a few millimetres recorded. The mercury soaring again across the southwest. Griffith hitting 36. That is 8 degrees above average. Mid to high 20s along the coast with a strong wind warning on the south coast and a hazardous surf warning for Byron. Tomorrow that heat building across New South Wales thanks to a high pressure ridge. Moist easterly winds bringing a shower or two to the northeast corner. A quick look at our capital capital cities for tomorrow. Brisbane mostly sunny with a possible shower and a top of 30. Canberra in for a hot one, hitting 33 and partly cloudy. A cool change for Melbourne, partly cloudy as well and 25, but still hot in Adelaide, fine and 34. Back home, our late hot spell rolling on with top temperatures up to 10 degrees, hotter than usual for this time of year. Inland parts reaching the mid to high 30s. A fine and mostly sunny day with possible light showers over that Northern Rivers region around Lismore. Less than a millimetre forecast though. Warmer along the coast too, most places reaching the low 30s. Coffs the coolest, heading for a top of 27. Sydney also cranking up the heat tomorrow with a moderate fire danger. Blue skies with light winds becoming east to northeasterly in the late afternoon. There is the chance of fog in our outer west early in the morning, but then a blast of sunshine. Our west heading for tops around 33 to 35 degrees. For Penrith, that is 8 degrees above average. The city forecast to hit 31 with overnight lows around 15 to 20. The warmer weather sticking around until the end of the week, fine and 28 on Wednesday, then back up to 31 on Thursday. A cool change on Friday with a very high chance of showers, 1 to 15 millimetres forecast for the city. In our west, partly cloudy and 31 on Wednesday. A mostly sunny morning on Thursday and another hot one, just a slight chance of a shower in the evening. Friday, our best chance of some decent showers with 2 to 20 millimetres forecast. Then a shower or two and tops in the mid-20s over the weekend, but unusually warm for the next 3 days at least, Pete.
Belinda, thank you. Ali is next with the current affair. That is 9 News for this Monday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.